I'm Tamara. I'm sitting in my kitchen, the early morning light filtering through the blinds, casting a soft glow over the countertop. The TV is on, but I'm not really watching it. Then, the anchor utters a name that makes my blood run cold. Gregory Stone. I freeze, my eyes fixed on the screen. The report is brief and to the point. Gregory has been convicted of multiple counts of financial fraud, forgery, and obstruction. The evidence against him is overwhelming, including documents recovered from his office and corroborated records that reveal a pattern of misconduct spanning years. The sentence is severe. Substantial prison time, asset forfeiture, and restitution ordered for those affected. As I listen, a strange sense of calm washes over me. It's not triumph or vindication. It's more like a quiet release, as if a weight I've been carrying for so long has finally been lifted. I lean against the counter, my mind drifting back to the events that led to this moment. I met Gregory when I was in my early 20s. I was fresh out of college, full of hope and dreams, and he was a rising star in the financial world. He was charming, intelligent, and ambitious, and I was immediately drawn to him. We started dating, and before I knew it, we were engaged. We got married in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by our friends and family, and I thought I had found my happily ever after. But as the years went by, things started to change. Gregory became more and more focused on his career, and he began to spend less and less time with me. He was always working late, traveling for business, and attending meetings. I tried to be understanding, but it was hard. I felt like I was losing him. One day, I discovered some things that made me question everything I thought I knew about him. I found some strange documents in his office, and when I asked him about them, he got defensive. He tried to brush it off, but I could tell he was hiding something. I started to do some digging on my own, and what I found was shocking. Gregory had been involved in a series of financial schemes, using his position at the company to embezzle money and manipulate the system. He had forged documents, redirected accounts, and approved transfers under false pretenses. He had also framed his business partner, Ryan Thompson, for the crimes, and Ryan had been sent to prison. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that the man I loved was capable of such things. I confronted him, but he refused to admit anything. He told me that I was being paranoid, that I didn't understand the world he operated in. He said that people were always trying to take advantage of him, and that he was just doing what he had to do to protect himself. I didn't know what to do. I loved Gregory, but I couldn't ignore what I had discovered. I decided to go to the authorities, but it was a difficult decision. I knew that it would mean the end of our marriage, and I was afraid of what would happen to me and our daughter, Ava. In the end, I couldn't live with the lies. I went to the police and told them everything I knew. They launched an investigation, and it didn't take long for them to find enough evidence to arrest Gregory. He was charged with multiple counts of financial fraud, forgery, and obstruction, and his trial began. The trial was a long and difficult process. Gregory's lawyers tried to paint him as a victim, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. In the end, he was found guilty and sentenced to prison. During the trial, I met Ryan Thompson. He was a kind and gentle man, and he had been through a lot. He told me that he had always suspected that Gregory was involved in something illegal, but he had never had any proof. He thanked me for coming forward and helping to expose the truth. After the trial, I was left to pick up the pieces of my life. I was divorced, I had lost my home, and I was struggling to make ends meet. But I had Ava, and she was my reason for living. I knew that I had to be strong for her, and I was determined to give her a good life. I started working as a rideshare driver to make some money. It was a difficult job, but it allowed me to spend more time with Ava. One day, I picked up a man and a woman at the transit hub. They were quiet and polite, and they didn't say much during the ride. But as we were driving, I overheard them talking about a plan to get into Gregory's company through a cleaning position. They mentioned his name, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I knew that I had to do something, but I was afraid. I didn't know if I could trust these people, and I didn't want to get involved in something that could put me and Ava in danger. I thought about it for a long time, and in the end, I decided to call Gregory and warn him. I knew that he didn't deserve my help, but I couldn't live with the thought of someone getting hurt. I called him and told him what I had overheard, but he didn't believe me. He laughed at me and told me that I was being paranoid. He said that he could handle himself and that I should mind my own business. I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised. I knew that Gregory was a stubborn and arrogant man, and I didn't expect him to listen to me. But I had done what I felt was right, and I knew that I couldn't do anything else. A few days later, I saw the man who had been in my car. He approached me and introduced himself as Ethan Harris. He told me that he and his sister, Lily, were trying to expose Gregory's crimes. Their father had been Ryan Thompson's business partner, and he had been cheated out of his inheritance by Gregory. They had been planning their revenge for a long time, and they were finally ready to make their move. I listened to Ethan's story, and I was filled with a sense of anger and injustice. I knew that Gregory had done a lot of damage, not just to me and Ava, but to many other people as well. I decided to help Ethan and Lily in their quest for justice. We worked together to gather more evidence against Gregory. Lily got a job as a cleaner at his company, and she was able to collect some important documents. We also found some witnesses who were willing to come forward and testify against him. In the end, our efforts paid off. The evidence we had collected was enough to convict Gregory, and he was sent to prison. The truth had finally been exposed, and justice had been served. As I sit here in my kitchen, watching the news report about Gregory's conviction, I can't help but feel a sense of relief. The past few years have been difficult, but I have finally found some peace. I know that the road ahead will still be challenging, but I am ready to face it. I have Ava, and I have the support of my friends and family. I know that I will be okay. Looking back, I realize that integrity is not a weakness. It may not guarantee protection or promise reward, but it allows a person to live with themselves afterward. I could have stayed silent, but I chose to speak up. I chose to do what was right, even though it was difficult. And in the end, it was worth it. Justice may not always come quickly or dramatically, but it will come. It arrives through paperwork and persistence, through people willing to pay attention and refuse to look away. It arrives because someone chooses not to stay silent when silence would have been easier. I look out the window at the city below, and I see the sun rising over the horizon. A new day has begun, and I am ready to embrace it.